let's discuss limits at infinity. So we're going to be taking limits as x or t or as any variable goes to infinity and negative infinity for some rather complicated functions. So let's start with this limit as x goes to infinity of 2x to the third minus x minus 8. So let's attempt to quote-unquote plug in infinity and see what happens. Well, if we plug in infinity to the first term here, well, that's just infinity to the third times 2, that's just infinity. So this is not very mathematically rigorous, but I want to get a point across here. And then this one as well, if we plug in infinity, and say we can subtract infinity, right? Because this is going to go to infinity as well, and then subtract 8. So you might be tempted here to say, well, infinity minus infinity, that's 0, and then 0 minus 8, that's just negative 8, so the answer is negative 8. So this is very tempting, and it's sort of, I can see why it's intuitive. It seems to be intuitive, but let me show you why that is wrong. So let's figure out how we can actually do this. So when we get to a form of quote-unquote plugging in infinity and getting infinity minus infinity or infinity plus infinity, those forms is something called indeterminate. And what that means is we're not sure, we still are not sure of what the answer is. So if you get something in this form, we need to do something else. And the method here is this right here. What we can do is factor out x to the third. So let's see, I'm gonna rewrite this as limit as x goes to infinity. I'm going to factor out an x to the third. So this is going to become 2 minus 1 over x squared minus 8 over x to the third. Now spend a minute or two looking at this and noticing why when we factor x to the third this happens. If you're unfamiliar with factoring, I encourage you to watch some of our factoring videos to do some review. That would help. If not, let's keep going forward. So now what we can do is quote-unquote plug in infinity to every x term, and let's see what happens. Well, infinity to this x term right here, that's just infinity. Now inside we're gonna have 2 minus 1 over infinity squared, right? Quote-unquote again. Not very mathematically rigorous, but this technique definitely works. And then on the bottom of this one is again infinity. So 1 over infinity, well, we noticed in the previous video, then that's just 0. 8 over infinity, that's also 0, right? Small number divided by a very large number, that just goes to 0. So we're left with infinity times some value. So this is just infinity. So the answer to this question, which we thought was initially negative 8, is actually infinity. So the limit as x goes to infinity of 2x to the third minus x minus 8 is infinity.